Man, oh man, what a great head fake today, and what a move to finish off the session. Boy, oh boy, back to work tonight, guys. Another crazy day comes to an end. It's Thursday evening after all. We're getting ready for Friday's trading session. I got a bunch of great trades setting up for tomorrow's trading session. I'm going to cover all my favorite trades in tonight's video. That way you've got a game plan to make some money on Friday. Before we jump in, though, and get this party going tonight, I got a lot going to cover tonight in this video. Before we jump in, though, make sure you subscribe to our channel. I don't want you to miss tomorrow night's video upload. And as always, if you guys enjoy the video tonight, hit that like button for me. Appreciate you guys supporting this YouTube channel. But enough of the intro, right? Friday is not going to trade itself. Let's get ready for a finally Friday, end of the month, last day of the month trading session tomorrow. Ooh, I got goosebumps just thinking about it. We've had some really big moves in the markets the last couple days here. As you can see right now, Nasdaq, of course, and the S&P. You know, we talked about this last night. We had some earnings to finish up the day today. So big, strong moves. We have, obviously, very bull markets right now. I would love to buy some deep pullbacks, you know, kind of the same thing we talked about in last video. But I'll tell you, though, there's something about these charts here tonight that tell me what I call a crown reversal. A crown reversal might really be the biggest payday, the biggest paycheck of the day here for tomorrow. So, yeah, we're definitely a bull market, and I think these markets have potential to go a little bit higher too. I've got levels overhead. So you've got more room to go higher here. So I'm definitely not going to fight that move, but I'll tell you, you'll see tonight there's some really nice spots here right now for some reversals off this high. So we'll talk about that obviously here tonight. Oil, of course, tumbled back in. We heard from OPEC today. OPEC pretty much confirmed they're going to keep on pumping more oil for us to keep these prices going lower. We get a nice juicy range right in the middle of that chart on oil. I can see some great spots for shorts on the oil. I can also see some great places for reversals on the oil as well tomorrow. So it could be a pretty good day to be an oil trader tomorrow morning in our trade room. Now, before we jump in, 'cause tomorrow's a Friday, right? Tomorrow's a Friday. Before we jump in and get this, I'm going to go over all my favorite trades in this video here tonight, though. But first, let's make sure we're all on the same page for tomorrow. Tomorrow is not your average Friday. Tomorrow's the end of the week, end of the month. There's a sense of scarcity as we go into the end of the month. If you work for a big trading corporation, big trading firm, you got to get your numbers dialed in by the end of the month. So there definitely tends to be some more desperation trades, right? Some more anxiety feeling, more volatility as we go into the end of the month. We have one really big news report tomorrow, and that is that personal income and outlays number. Now, I'll tell you, this may not sound like a very big deal, but this is one of the most important key inflation numbers the Fed has told us for years. We've known this for years. The Fed watches this PCE number very closely. And think about it, right now, bad news is good news, right? So we saw that technical recession get triggered today. Bad news for the GDP, good news for the equity markets. Tomorrow we go into a situation where, I'll tell you, if that personal income number comes out higher than expected, that would signal that inflation is worse than they thought. What do you think's going to happen if we see a signal tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning that inflation keeps on creeping higher here? It's going to likely be seen in the markets as being a reason for the Fed to keep raising rates. So I would imagine an excessively high number tomorrow would lead to potentially traders here, and obviously we'll see what the market wants to do with it. But that may be a signal where an elevated number tomorrow means people get nervous about the Fed having to raise those rates in a rather large number, right? That 50 or 75 basis points, which they kind of walked back on Wednesday, right? On Wednesday they said, you know, we don't exactly think we might need those big 75 basis point rate hikes. Well, we might have a change of heart from the Fed tomorrow if that number comes out and surprises us. That's definitely something I have on my radar tomorrow, and I would definitely imagine something that you want to keep on as well. And then don't forget, consumer sentiment has been something that's moved these markets a lot lately. 10 o'clock shock, we call it, in our trade room. I would imagine if if I had to guess tomorrow morning, I would imagine the reaction we get to that 10 o'clock number might be one of the biggest catalysts we see of the, well, not the week, obviously, but the day tomorrow. So definitely keep an eye on that. And then, of course, we are going into the last few drops of earnings season. Thank goodness we can get this craziness out of the way here. Tomorrow is all about energy before the open tomorrow. So we'll talk about the oil price and the game plan for oil tomorrow, but be aware there could be some big grenades going off tomorrow morning before the open, and we may have to kind of adjust our game plan tomorrow on the oil chart, right? So just be aware of that. We get a bunch of energy numbers coming out there. The bulk of earnings now is behind us. So next week we go into a brand new month of August, and we've got all the big for the most part, the big earnings are behind us. There are a couple lingering guys out next week, but that shouldn't be that big of a deal here next week. So personal income, keep it on your radar tomorrow. I'm very curious myself about that PCE number and that consumer sentiment number at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Expect to have an uptick in volatility for tomorrow, again, as we go into the end of the week, the end of the month. And I'm expecting a pretty good day tomorrow in our trade room. Now, back to our charts tonight. Whether you trade one of these markets or you trade all of these markets, make sure you watch all the way to the end tonight, because you'll learn something new throughout every single step of this video here tonight. I'll provide different trade ideas, different trade variations, different advanced tactics as we go deeper into this video. And I do tend to save the best stuff all the way to the end, so I'll give you a reason to stick around all the way through it. Let's go NASDAQ first. We'll go NASDAQ, S&P, and then we'll wrap up on the crude oil. Jumping into the NASDAQ, this is a 4,000 tick chart on the NASDAQ here. Now, I have a lot of students that trade the micro NASDAQ or the QQQs, the ETF counterpart here. And so what's up with the NASDAQ right now? Well, there are three key insights on this chart right now. The first one is a very strong move higher, right? Look at this. Look at the strength of that last move higher. Why is that a big clue? Well, because anytime we see a real strong move, we expect a pullback and a retest of that high, right? Once we get a retest of the high, do we get a double top reversal? Do we see a breakout going higher? We don't quite know that just yet, but that's one very significant clue. We saw that yesterday, if you recall. That strong move up, that deep pullback, right, and attempt to retest that high. We get that first clue. Second clue here is a big move higher. That's a huge move. Look at the size of that move here, right? Very, very big move here today. Why is a big move a big clue? Well, because, for the most part, right, unless you took my advice and bought that 2-try failure off of that low today, there really wasn't a lot of deep pullbacks as we took off and really sprinted into the close here today. So you have to think that anytime we see this much of a move, there might be a little bit of hesitation up here. Now, again, I do think, like I mentioned in the introduction, I do believe there's more room to go on this. In fact, I believe we could easily keep on grinding higher to that 13,000 number, like I mentioned in last night's video. So we may not be quite done yet, to be very, very clear with you here tonight. But a very strong move, very, very large move says we're probably going to want to see a relatively deep pullback. And as I mentioned last night, how deep? How deep is deep enough? Usually right when you start thinking it's a reversal. That's usually when it's deep enough, right? We talked about that last night on the video, and we'll talk more about it here tonight. So strong move higher says expect a retest, right? A big move higher says expect a deeper pullback to attract more buyers at a more reasonable price. Now, third clue on this is major resistance above. You can see I've got this whole red rectangle up here drawn in, and like I said earlier, we do have even more space above us until we start running into what really probably would be kind of the big, most important levels up overhead. But as the kids say these days, right, this is a supply zone, if you will, up here, right? And we can easily assume here, with such a big move back-to-back days like this, you got to be thinking there'll be some profit taking up here and potentially some sellers that look to short off of this high right now. I would imagine there probably are a lot of bears who are looking to scale into positions up around these highs right now. I can imagine there probably are a lot of bears waiting to get their shot at taking out some of those buyers here and shorten it back down to some of those moving averages. So knowing all of this information now, knowing the situation we're in right now, right? What's the best game plan how to make some money on this? Well, I definitely want to look for a deep pullback, right? And buy a deep pullback on this, right? Buyers definitely be looking for a chance to buy a relatively deep pullback tomorrow. That is definitely going to be on our cards. We'll talk about the pullback strategy, though. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the video. I'll cover that on the S&P. For right now, though, I want to show you what I was talking about earlier with that crown reversal. Now, we have a very strong move higher. And at this point now, because we're up into these areas of resistance, and again, do not be surprised if we open up in Asia here at 6 p.m. Eastern time and we continue going higher here. But I want you to think about a couple different scenarios for a short coming off of this high. Okay, here are 3 different ways I'll be looking tomorrow for a short off the high. And again, knowing that, I'm looking to pick it back up as it comes down with that deep pullback. And we'll talk more about that deep pullback as we go a little bit deeper into this video here. Now, the first one is called a crown reversal. What's a crown reversal look like? Well, we've talked about the 2-try rule throughout the videos this week here. That's exactly what you want to see. But a very good rule of thumb is the stronger and the bigger the move, the bigger the crown reversal pattern needs to be. So keep that in mind for tomorrow. What I want to see is I want to see buyers come in and try to buy the shallow pullback. I then want to see it try to go lower and have buyers try again. This is one of my favorite reversal patterns in this case, in a bull market as we're seeing right now. Notice how this thing looks. We pull back to that moving average. This would be a 21 moving average. They pull back. The buyers try once. They don't retest the high. They then pull back again. They give it a second try now. And as they're trying to go back and retest the high, and of course we know they want to retest the high because it's a strong move in one direction. As we come back and retest the high, we sneak right above that prior swing and we see nice, strong signals coming off of that, what we call a trap, right? A trap entry off of that high. Now these, I'll tell you, these will oftentimes produce really big and aggressive reversals. So at this point, I can look for that crown reversal, and then if the market really pukes, right? If it really starts to puke and run lower at that point now, what I can do is I can draw a trend line off that low, I can draw a channel off of that high, and I can find some traps above prior swings. So keep this on your radar for tomorrow, right? Keep this in your radar for tomorrow. A crown reversal, again, 1 try, 2 try, trap high, and then if it really punches, okay, it's going to be really important that it really punches, right? Because, again, we're expecting buyers to be coming in and buying that dip. If it really punches as we run lower, I'm going to look left, find some swings, draw that trend line over, find that channel, and then from here, I'm looking for all of the entry setups that we talk about in the free trading course, right? The traps, the failures, the pullback combinations, right? All the stuff you guys have learned in that free trading course. Which reminds me, if you are one of the few people right now watching this lesson tonight that have not taken our free trading course and learned all the setups, I know most of you guys have, right? And you guys always send me so many great emails every week, making money with the free classes on the website. But listen, if you haven't done it yet, if you haven't grabbed it yet, I'll put a little link up here for you in the upper right-hand corner to learn all of the entry techniques. If you're like me and you hate missing the best trades each day, or you're taking too many losses, I'll tell you the roadmap that I teach in that free trading course, that strategy will get you right on the right track, and you'll start getting in on some of the juiciest winners every week on your own and be ready for trading with us sometime soon in our morning trade room. So grab that little link popped up there. It's a great strategy if you're trying to transition from a part-time trader to a full-time trader. So grab that link. You're going to love that stuff, and we'll talk more about that as we go deeper in this video. So a crown reversal, this can work on the S&P, this can work on the Nasdaq as well. Now, here's another thing to watch for here right now, and that will be a double top reversal. Okay, double top reversal is a little bit less aggressive. So let's say we go up here, right? We pull back and we now retest that high now. Right? We now retest that high. Okay, buyers come in, they buy the shallow pullback, and they retest the high. Now, what do we always say? Mission accomplished. Okay, the buyers want to retest the high. They've got it. Now, what do? We wait for exhaustion. We now wait for buyers trying once. We wait for buyers trying twice. Now, here is an interesting trick I like to use for a double top reversal. Draw a trend line off of those lows. Bring that trend line up around that high. Now, don't get me wrong. I would love a trap right above that high right there. I would love that trap. Not required on this one, though. Okay, because at this point now, we've already retested that high. So what I do is I draw that trend line down off those lows, right? And then, of course, I look for that short signal off of that high. Now, as the moving average comes over, right? As the moving average comes over and the market now, right? And the market now drops now same thing. We mark off that low, we mark off that high, and we start looking for entries off the high of that channel. And again, I'm not going to go into all the details of the specific entry techniques we use in our trade room, but you can learn that stuff inside that free trading course that I mentioned earlier. So again, it's a 2-try failure, right? Doesn't need to be a crown reversal, but it definitely wouldn't hurt. And then we're looking for any of the entry setups you guys learn in that free trading course off the top of that channel. My favorite are traps and failures as we go back above the moving average. So that's an easy way for us right now to short this thing, and we'll see if we can get it here tomorrow, right? We may not get it, right? Still a very bullish market right now. And again, even if it goes higher here, same basic idea, right? Same basic idea for that short. Now, here's something else to keep in mind here. Let's say, for example, we V-top, right? And we basically just punch right back down again, right? Watch for this. Watch for this. Watch for now, as we pull back, watch for the 1-2 blast off that moving average. Now, I can't sell that one, unfortunately, right? It's not going to be a very good short because, again, we're expecting buyers down here. Okay, we're going to talk about how to buy this deep pullback in a moment. Don't you worry. I'm not going to leave you hanging on that. But if we basically V-top, right, and come off that high, we slip underneath the 21 EMA, and the bears come in and jump off that moving average. Once they jump, now it's a 1, 2, 3 reversal. Remember, they have to jump off that moving average. Okay, none of this moving lower, trying, right? Moving lower, trying, right? See right there? Those are not reversals. Okay, those are not reversals. They really have to jump off of that moving average. And if you don't know what I mean by that, I cover a lot of that in the free trading course. I also, of course, go over it every day in our trade room. So with that said, now we go out, we draw a trend line off that low, we draw a trend line off that high, find that channel. And again, I love to grab a trap right above the high of that prior swing. It could be a trap, it could be a failure, it could be a pullback combination. Now, where do we think the market wants to go at that point? If it really just reverses hard, it's going to want to take out those lows, obviously. But more importantly, the easier way to think of the exit is the first leg and the third leg. Okay, that will give you a much more fine-tuned way of trading that reversal. Okay, so keep that on your mind. Another one would be if we V-top off the high, right? We V-top, and then let's say, for example, now, instead of pulling back and punching, right, we then begin to grind, and we grind, and we grind down. That grinding down is basically all the buyers over here walking away. That's basically what that is. These pop and grinds are really, really powerful because then we can draw a trend line off that low, bring it up around those big highs, and then look for that pop up. And again, you want to start thinking about where are some of those prior swings and combine those prior swings with things like trap setups, which you'll learn in that free course, failure patterns, and pullbacks as we go, right? So first leg, third leg, as we're going there. Those are my favorite reversals setting up here for tomorrow. But again, let's face it, this is a bull market right now, right? This is a bull market. Everybody wants to buy that dip, right? Everyone wants to buy that dip. How do we buy it? Let's keep talking about that now on the S&P. As you can imagine, both the S&P and the Nasdaq are pretty much interchangeable here. What has been pretty much all week. There's a little bit differences here and there, but they're very similar here overall. Now, on the S&P, 3 basic insights, very similar to the Nasdaq, but there's one very big difference on the S&P. The S&P definitely has more space to run. Okay, you'll notice the Nasdaq had all those big blocks of resistance up overhead. The S&P has plenty of space to run right now. If you look at like a weekly chart, for example, the Nasdaq is approaching some significant prior swings. On the S&P, we're quite a ways away from it, right? So the S&P might not be as what's the word, kind of prone to that reversal, right, as the Nasdaq. But we'll see what happens. Now again, on the S&P, strong move higher. Right? Strong move higher. Very strong move higher here. Anytime we see a strong move, what do we expect? A deep pullback, right? And a retest of that high. Once we retest the high, do we get that double top reversal? Do we get that blast through, right? Get that blast through, right? That pop up and blast through that we saw today. Okay? That's waiting for tomorrow. And obviously, second big clue here, same thing. That big move. Right? That big move higher that we're seeing, what does that tell us? Well, again, right, unless you were buying those dips that we talked about in last night's video, that deep pullback about last night, unless you were buying down there really wasn't a lot of deep pullbacks here today. We have to assume that buyers would love to buy, but they don't want to buy at such a high price. You know, too expensive right now. Give me a more reasonable price, right? Probably going to be somewhere down around some of these areas, right? These swing areas that we have marked up on both the Nasdaq and the S&P. Again, pretty much everything I talk about tonight on the S&P can be applied to the Nasdaq. The third and probably not the most important clue on this, but it is something to recognize, is that strong move higher. Right, led right into a measured move. It's really almost uncanny how that market that made that strong spike up into lunch, chopped around a little bit, broke out, and pretty incredible how that first leg, right, turned right into that second leg for that measured move. There are some other levels of resistance up here, but this is the one I thought that probably most useful for us here for tomorrow. So we talked about on the Nasdaq, we've talked about the crown reversal, right? We've talked about the double top reversal. We've talked about the 1, 2, 3 reversal, right? And we talked about that V-top, pop, and grind reversal as well. So we've covered those already on the Nasdaq. Those will very much still apply here on the S&P. Let's talk about now the deep pullback, right? Let's talk about that deep pullback. When you look for a deep pullback, what you want to remember is that first of all, and I mentioned this earlier, how deep do we need to be? How deep is a deep pullback? I would imagine on the S&P, we're going to be somewhere down around that 77 to 70 area, kind of lining up at the low of that channel. If I had to guess right now, I would guess that would be where the deep enough pullback would be. Over on the Nasdaq, it's something very similar, right? I've got some prior swings right here. This would be kind of where I would expect that deep pullback to be on the Nasdaq. Back on the S&P though, there are kind of a couple things you want to think about. One is going to be a lot of times, let's keep it simple first. On that deep pullback, right? On that deep pullback. Now remember, if we pull back into that buy zone now and we roll over and hold that moving average and blast, that's a reversal. However, if the bears come in and they try once and they try twice, right? These are what 2-try failures look like. Now, I normally don't need a 2-try failure to buy a pullback. But a really deep pullback, you definitely do. If you're at your desk this morning, if you watched these kind of pullbacks that we saw this morning, right? You saw how it went lower and the bears tried once. If you were watching it in real time, you saw kind of how they tried twice. I'm sure you probably did. The Nasdaq was a picture perfect example of that 2-try failure punching higher. That's exactly what you want to see here for tomorrow. I want that deep pullback. and I want to try to trap in some of these bears, right? I want to be able to use those stops as fuel. So imagine now we get that deep pullback. The bears are thinking, oh my goodness, it's a reversal, right? Like I said earlier, how deep do you think it's going to go? It's usually going to go as soon as that little voice in your head says, oh my goodness, this could be a reversal. As soon as you start going, oh shoot, maybe this is a reversal, that's usually when it's deep enough. Okay, right when the rookies start going, okay, we're getting short, that's exactly when a lot of the smart money will come in and start gobbling that stuff up. It's amazing how against our instincts, right, counter-instinctual these markets are when you get a deep pullback. So at this point now, let those bears try twice. Now, if I can get a crown reversal off that low, oh my goodness, right, even better. Even better. Not totally required, right, because we don't have as much of a, we're going with momentum. Right? To get short in a real strong bear move like this, you've got to be careful, right? Because obviously you're going against that momentum and you really have to anticipate, right? The reason, let's put it this way, the reason why I look for a crown reversal trap is because I know that as the market goes lower, there are more buyers coming in. So if I want to sell a bull market like this, I have to sell at resistance and I got to sell as high as I can. Right? Because when it comes back below that low again, it could easily pop right back up, right? So I can't be aggressively selling it, right, in a bull market as it rolls over. Does that make sense, right? Does that make sense? Once you learn that kind of ground rule, again, when you're trying to sell into a bull market, you've got to sell high, because if you try to sell low, you're selling right into where more buyers are coming in. Right? If that resonates with you, let me know in the comment section. Give me a hashtag hell yeah in the comment section. Right? That's the reason why you need that trap in such a bull market. But as we pull back though right now, I don't need that trap. There's tons of buyers that want to buy down here. What I do need though is a catalyst. Right? Momentum is not that great anymore in the deep pullback. That catalyst is 1, 2, get all those stops. Right? Get all those stops getting hit and look for that run back up to retest the high. And then again, from that point, it could be that 1, 2, right back down again from there, right? So we may play that game back and forth here on either the S&P or the NASDAQ. Now, that's a pretty easy one, right? That 1, 2, that failure pattern off that low. Wait for that signal. I often will draw a trend line off of that low or draw it backwards, right? Off that high, off of that. You know what I'm saying? Find those little channels, find those prior swings like that, and hit it going higher. Now, as we go higher, what you need to remember as we go higher here is you cannot chase this thing going higher. Why? Because you know that bears are waiting up here and they're going to look to short that sucker as it goes back into that high, right? Because they know those double top reversals are good money makers, right? They are, right? So we can't chase it as it goes higher. So as it goes higher here, you've got to be thinking now, I need a trap, right? I need some sort of, again, we mentioned selling as high as you can possibly sell on a reversal. This is the exact same principle. You want to buy as low as you can. Okay, I love to go out and find a channel, mark off that high, mark off that low, but really the most important thing on that add-on entry, before we go back to retest the high, is going to be that trap. All right, take my advice on that. The trap will keep you out of trouble. I realize that may keep you out of some trades every once in a while, but there's no medal, there's no trophy for the number of trades you take, right? All that matters is the end of the week, at the end of the month, are you growing your account or not? And traps will consistently give you that edge you need to grow your account, right? This is not a race. It is a marathon. It really is. The sooner we understand that, the better. So that's how we're going to buy this thing on that really deep pullback. And again, from there, we might blast higher here, right? From there, we may blast higher here. So what would that look like? What would that look like if we pulled back, if we trapped in those bears, we get that stop run, and we just start to punch? Because again, like I said earlier, there's a lot more space up here, right? There's a lot more space to run. I've got this obviously 41.34, 41.49, 41.52 is a very likely number as we go higher here. So what would that look like here? We pull it back, we trap them in, right? And we begin to blast. Now, think about these 3 breakout patterns. You ready? One would be, we pop up, we take out that high, but now the buyers don't back off, right? They pull back and they jump off that moving average. Remember, the buyers at this point have to hold that. Okay, we don't buy that pullback. I'm sorry, it's not. You can do whatever you want, really, right? But I'll tell you right now, not right. Remember, this is the dumb money, right? These are the weak hands. The smart money's down here. Smart money buys low, right? Dumb money buys high. Okay, that's buying high up there. We don't buy high. Let those buyers prove it that they've got it. Then go out. It's a much more reliable trade. Once you get that 1, 2, 3, go to the high now go out and find that first test off the low of that channel. If I get a trap, even better. Trap, failure, pullback combo. Again, you'll learn those setups, of course, right, in that free course yet. And by the way, if I haven't convinced you yet, what are you waiting for? Grab that link in the upper right-hand corner there. There are hundreds of examples of how we apply all of these all these setups to our favorite market. So grab that link. You're going to love it. So we pull back. We ain't taking those highs out. We hold the pullback and we blast. Or maybe we see it pull back and we pop and we grind, right? Pop and grind. Easy one. Mark that high. We now have proof that we're breaking through that prior structure high. Mark off that high. Mark off that low. Yeah, find those prior swings and grab that first test off the low. First test is the best test. Where's my target? Remember, first leg, third leg. That will help give you some more refining of that final exit target. You've got some ideas though as we go higher here. Okay, the hardest part of this is probably going to be if we keep going higher. Let's say, for example, we open up, right, and the market, right, just kind of punches up. Again, I wouldn't be surprised of this at all. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some residual bulls coming in, bunch of good earnings that came out here, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing applies, right? The one difference, though, is I will go in and adjust this channel. All right, so if it does push up higher here into the open, I'll have to go out and start thinking about a bigger channel here, right? And we'll find that bigger channel. We'll find that deeper pullback. So there'll be a little bit of an adjustment if we do keep on pushing higher, but the same principles will apply. So keep that in mind if we go higher. One last thing, and again, this will also apply on the NASDAQ as well. If we go sideways, okay, both the S&P and the NASDAQ made big moves today. If we stick and go sideways tomorrow, the only thing that really changes is the reversal. If we stick and go sideways in a range up here, get some big news tomorrow, that inflation number tomorrow morning, who knows, right? We may go sideways. If we go sideways here overnight, that range becomes a magnet. We still expect that deep pullback. But just be aware, though, the minute we start seeing that range up there is the minute those reversals start to become more difficult because ranges act like magnets. Okay, so keep an eye out for a trading range. The same game plan, though, right? Ranges are magnets. Find levels of support below the range. Get below that trading range. Trap in those bears, right? Use those stops as fuel and punch it right back higher again. Okay, don't be afraid of ranges. Ranges are your best friend, okay, once you know how to use them. Bull market into a range, we're buying off that low. Okay, so keep that in mind here for tomorrow. And again, everything we're talking about tonight can also be applied to the NASDAQ. The hardest part will be if the market keeps on pushing higher, we'll have to go out and adjust this channel, right? I'll kind of move some of these levels up a little bit, right? And we'll keep on looking for that deeper pullback. And again, how deep? Right about when it starts to feel like a reversal. And again, if you don't know what that means, that's probably a good sign to come out and trade with us every morning in our trade room. Last but not least here, over on the oil, don't forget we do have a ton of oil news coming out tomorrow before the open. So I'll do my best tonight to give us a game plan. But be aware, things could quickly change here tomorrow morning as those earnings come out. As I mentioned earlier, we've got earnings. Some of the biggest energy companies in the world are coming out tomorrow morning. There are really 4 key insights on this chart right now. One is a strong move down was retested. We had a very strong move down right here earlier this morning. What happened? Like it always does, right? It pulls back and not always. There's no always, right? Almost always does. It pulls back and it retests that low. Now, from there, what do we always say? Mission accomplished. Now, do the buyers get that reversal? Looks like it right now. Or do they push through into what could be another set of big support levels down around last week's close? This is a big deal. right? Why is it a big deal right now? It's a big deal because now the pressure is off, right? The pressure is off. The bears got what they wanted. Now, where do we think the buyers want to go at this point? They want to go and they want to take out that high right there. Okay, that's the one thing on their mission. Or that's the first thing on their list, right? Take out that high. And then from there, take out the big high. Right? So once we get that strong move down, they retest, right? If we're not going to keep on going through, we now assume there's one thing on their mind, go back to that level. If they can hold off that level, they'll try to take out that high. If they can't though, well, now we have the next clue. Range rotation. A range and rotation off the low. Okay, there's my trading range right there. It's not the easiest one to see, but you'll notice we've got some double tops, some double bottoms, right? Moving average flattens out there. Bottom line is that this is a range. And we're now coming from underneath that trading range. Okay, ranges love to rotate back and forth. I can measure the amount below the range and I can project that up above the range. This becomes a key area of resistance to sell short above the top of that trading range. As I mentioned a few moments ago, in a bull market into a range, we look for support levels to buy below the range. In a bear market like this one into a range, we look for resistance levels up above to short the range, right? That's a very big clue. What's also really important to remember is that these are the types of pendulum swings that oftentimes produce major reversals. Okay, in fact, this situation we're seeing right now on the oil is what really convinced me 2 days ago to call that short squeeze off of that low. Because think about it, as the market rotates from below that trading range and tries to take out that pendulum swing, that's quite a bit of what? Of bullish momentum. And so oftentimes, boy, the bears can try up here, but this thing just punches. Oftentimes, all of that momentum just crushes it and squeezes out the bears and runs higher. Okay, that could easily be a situation we see tomorrow, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. Now, hidden channel. Hidden channel is not that important. It is important, right? But it's not that important. We've got that low marked up, that high marked up. I've also got that trend line off that high. This area right here is a very attractive area for a short right now. It is a lot of resistance above the high of a bearish trading range. And then speaking of our trading range, the fourth and really kind of one of the most important clues, not on this day, but if you look a little bit wider here, you'll notice kind of what's going on right now, right? We're basically, as you can see here, we're basically sitting right at the low of that, right, of that trading range. Why is that important for me right now? Well, it's important because if this is a trading range right here, if the market rolls lower tomorrow, where do you think it wants to go? Well, we'll be hitting a ton of support down here, right, with that trading range. The market will eventually want to run back up into that trading range. So the reason why this is important for me tomorrow is I've got to be very careful trying to sell as the market goes lower. It'll be a little bit better odds of success looking for those crown reversals or those double bottom reversals coming off of that low. So that's why that bigger range, that major range is, in my opinion, one of the biggest clues here for tomorrow, especially if we go lower. Okay, so knowing all of this, right? Knowing all of this, how are we going to make some money on this? And hopefully those earnings reports don't shake up this chart too badly and spoil the fun here for us, or at least have to make me redo this thing tomorrow morning before we get started in the trade room. So as we go higher right now. Okay, as we go higher, there's a couple things you want to think about. As we go higher here now, what's the concern? I've got a lot of resistance up overhead, but as we go higher right now, momentum's a concern. So this is exactly where a one try, a two try, a failure will come in for a sell back down, right? Remember, I want to sell at resistance above the range, but I need to use that two try rule to trap in the bulls, who we assume will be very eager to punch this thing going higher here. So watch out for that two try failure, for that run back down into that trading range. I would also keep in mind too, if the market really sprints and runs higher, we run into more resistance overhead. This is a great example now of where a crown reversal comes in handy, right? That crown reversal is necessary at this point because it's pretty much a bull market at that point on the short-term trend. We'll get those buyers to try it once, try it twice. And again, we have to assume that as this market goes lower, there are more buyers coming in to buy it back up. So of course, as I mentioned earlier, I want that trap off the high. And that trap off the high could easily result in a new channel, and we grab that short off that channel. I'm obviously simplifying this right now because we've covered a lot of these details already here tonight. That crown reversal, and then grabbing that trap or that failure or that pullback off of that high. Okay, those are some easy ways to short this thing. Now, if we go higher, let's say energy companies come out, right? There's a big supply shortage right now, right? And the market jumps. We get that pop up. The buyers hold that pullback and they blast, right, off that moving average. Okay, now at that point, 1, 2, 3, we find that new channel, off the new trend line, we find that channel, and we grab that first test off of that low. Keep in mind though, we've got to get up into this area of resistance, hold that pullback, and really jump, right? It really has to jump. Be very careful when a market pops up and grinds like this. Okay, it's not a very good breakout, right? It's got to pop up. It's going to pop up and really blast, right? Like really show you that strong blast. Just like here where it goes below, pulls back, and see how it blasts, that blast like that? That's a reversal. So as we go higher here, watch for that pull back, but make sure, right, if they go 1, 2, we'll sell it back down, right, or all the way up, 1, 2, trap, and back down. Or if they're able to pull back and blast going higher, the strength of that move going higher will be enough for us to get that new channel, right, find that new channel and grab that first pullback. All right, where do we think the market wants to go if it really pops like that? There's some key levels overhead. 102.24 comes to mind. 199, probably the biggest one we have on our radar right now is that 199 level, just shy of that 101 big round number. Okay, we may also see that pop and grind going higher too. Those pop and grind channels are pretty common as well. So keep in mind as we go higher, look for those shorts off the high or that strong jump off the moving average to confirm this sucker is bullish. Now, as we go lower here, okay, as we go lower, if the market now proceeds to roll lower on this, okay, rolling lower, this is where we go out and we find those new channels. Right, find those new channels, mark off those swings, grab those traps, grab those failures, grab that pullback combination. Okay, so if the market begins to kind of bleed lower here, right, we kind of know where they want to go. Take out that last week's close, take out 95 down there. That'll be an easy way to short this thing off the high. So I get rid of that channel here for a moment. If we now begin to kind of roll over and dump going down now, right, we're going to keep on finding those larger channels, keep on finding those traps, and keep on looking for that pop up above prior swings, get above the moving average for those failures, right, and then look for those runs back down again. Okay, look for that retest of that low. Okay, trap, failure, pullback combo. Now, at this point, we're at those major areas of support down here. This is exactly where, as we go lower, a crown reversal comes in, right? Again, strong move down into support. I have to make sure I'm buying that trap low because that's the only safe way to do it when you're going against all that momentum. And again, we have the benefit of having a range above us, which is nice, but that momentum is the problem, right? So crown reversal. Or we get that strong move down, we find that short off that new channel, right? We double bottom off that low, and then we get the easier one, right? The 1 try, the 2 try, find that trend line off that high, bring it down off that low, and then punch that sucker going higher. At this point now, that range becomes an easy magnet. So we find that new channel off the high, mark off that low, and we're grabbing that first test off of that low, right? I like that a lot, actually. I like that run lower, trapping in those bears and using their stops as fuel to go back up into that trading range. So keep that on your mind as we go lower. There'll be a window to sell short down here if it keeps on going lower, but that window will likely close as we get deeper into this 95 to 94.30 support zone. Exactly a good spot to look for a place to trap in the bears and pop it right back up into that trading range. Now we wait. Now we wait and see what the opening bell looks like in Asia. Now we wait and see what the earnings look like tomorrow morning, right, before the open here on some of those big energy names. Tomorrow could be another really, really busy day. It's the end of the month tomorrow. We get the game plan ready to go here in tonight's video. Now, come out and join me every morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. The game plan's ready. Now, all we do out there, go tomorrow is trade our game plan together. If you're looking for a great place to learn and trade along, if you're missing the best trades each day, you're going to love my trade room. Great place to come in, look over my shoulder, right? Learn the strategy, trade along with me. I'll put all the links, all the free course links, all the membership links, everything you'll need will be in the description of the YouTube video tonight. Don't be afraid to call the office if you guys have any questions. We also have live chat on the website that works great for you too. And as always, you can drop questions in the comment section below. I hope by now you hit that like button if you guys enjoyed the video tonight. Hope you subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow night's video. And we'll wrap things up here for now. Get some rest tonight. Get a busy end of the month tomorrow. As always, we'll come back next week and keep on doing this again next week. In the meantime, be well, be nice to each other, will ya? And be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.